You feel the water before you see it. It closes around your ankle inside the darkness of the gallery, cold enough to make your foot pull back. The lamp in your hand throws a weak circle across the rock. Its flame catches the moving surface below, then bends as someone squeezes past behind you. The water should not be this high. Farther in, another worker strikes the wall with the wooden end of a tool. Once. Then again. The sound returns through the passage, but the man does not. You lower the lamp. Mud clouds around your sandal. A chip of stone skates through the water and disappears into the dark. There is no alarm bell, no marked escape route, no helmet, no electric light, no pump waiting to start at the turn of a handle. There is only the route you entered by, the people who know it, and the judgment of whether the rock and water will let you use it again. Someone behind you asks if the channel is blocked. You do not know. If the gang retreats too soon, the shift is lost, or remains underground. Tools may have to be abandoned. If you stay too long, the route itself may become the trap. This is a dangerous moment in a Roman gold mine in western Britain, sometime in the late 1st or early 2nd century. But it is not a recovered eyewitness account. No Roman miner left us a diary of this place. No inscription records the worst shift, the closest escape, or the name of the person who first noticed water rising in the dark. The worker whose body you occupy is a reconstruction. So is the blocked channel, the frightened gang, and the decision that follows. The mine is real. Its galleries, open workings, channels, tanks, spoil, and fragments of wooden equipment survive at a place now called Dolaucothi in the Cothi Valley of South Wales. The archaeology tells us how much engineering Rome brought to this landscape. It tells us far less about the people who carried that engineering on their backs. Tonight, the water is still rising, and for one anonymous worker, the most dangerous part of the shift is deciding when obedience becomes a form of suicide. In daylight, the Cothi Valley does not resemble the entrance to an underworld. Rain moves across green slopes. Woodland gathers along the river. The folds of the land hide cuts, hollows, and channels beneath vegetation that returned long after the mine fell silent. But around the years AD 70 to 80, extensive Roman gold mining began here. The conquest of Wales was still recent. Roads, forts, taxation, military power, and new systems of extraction were changing the country. At Dolaucothi, gold-bearing rock turned one valley into a place of imperial importance. The mine was never a single tunnel. It was a working landscape. Open cuts where rock could be attacked from above, adits driven into hillsides, underground galleries and stopes, water channels crossing the slopes, tanks holding controlled supplies, waste heaps, processing areas, paths, and a nearby settlement where people lived beside the industry. Even now, the chronology is not perfectly clean. Dolaucothi was worked before Rome, under Rome, and again in later centuries. Modern miners cut through old ground. Some features can be dated more confidently than others. Not every hollow is Roman. Not every scorch mark belongs to the same period. The surviving landscape is a stack of different mining worlds. That uncertainty matters. It prevents us from drawing one flawless map and placing our fictional gang at a precise point inside it. It also prevents a familiar kind of documentary magic in which every old passage becomes Roman and every tool mark belongs to the same day. What can be said is already remarkable. Dolaucothi is the only place in Britain where the Romans are known to have mined for gold. Archaeologists have traced substantial water systems associated with the workings. Excavation and survey have identified evidence for ore crushing and processing. Underground discoveries made when the mine was reopened in the 20th century included preserved wooden objects and part of a water-lifting wheel. These are pieces of a system, not portraits of its workers. The people themselves survive mostly as absence. No one wrote down who entered first, who carried the lamp, who understood the water, or who refused to go deeper when the roof began to loosen. So we return underground with one rule. The landscape is evidence. The shift is a possible human story placed carefully inside it. At the working face, the rock does not look rich. There is no open chest, no wall of shining metal, no yellow river waiting to be lifted into a basket. Gold at Dolaucothi occurs within folded, fractured rock and quartz veins, often beside pyrite, the mineral that can fool an inexperienced eye with a brighter display than the gold itself. The value is hidden inside weight. Before anything can be washed, sorted, refined, carried, guarded, or spent, somebody must separate useful material from the mountain. Your world at the face is small enough to touch with both hands, a narrow pool of lamplight, the edge of a tool, a seam judged by color and texture, broken rock under your knees, the shoulder of another worker filling the passage when he turns. There are no explosives. Rock yields through repeated force, patient selection, and methods learned over generations. Picks and hammers leave marks that may outlast the hands that made them. Wood is used where it is useful and available for handles, ladders, containers, supports, and machinery. Rope and baskets turn fragments into movable loads. The work is skilled, but skill does not make it safe. Each blow changes the face. A crack that was harmless in the morning may carry weight by evening. Each basket removed changes the floor. Every lamp consumes air and gives off smoke. Every person entering a confined route must also be able to leave it. The richest material is not always the easiest to reach. The easiest route is not always the route that keeps the gallery drained. The fastest worker is not necessarily the worker who survives. You learn the mine through sensations that never appear in an imperial account. The difference between a tool ringing against firm stone and striking something hollow, the faint movement of air from an opening, the smell of smoke that has nowhere to go, the temperature of water around your feet, the way a lamp flame behaves when the passage ahead begins to close. Above ground, the result may become a measured quantity of valuable metal. Below ground, the unit of production is the body. A back carries the basket. A hand steadies the lamp. Lungs draw whatever air the mine provides. Knees and shoulders adapt to a space that was cut for ore, not comfort. Rome sees gold. You see the next piece of rock that must be moved before you can stand upright again. The largest machine at Dolaucothi is not underground. It is the landscape itself. Roman period waterworks carried water along the side of the Cothi Valley toward the mines. One surviving channel runs for roughly 10 kilometers before reaching the working area, where water fed tanks and could be released or directed for mining and processing tasks. The gradient had to be controlled. Too little fall and the water would stop. Too much, and it would damage the channel meant to carry it. Valleys, rock, soil, weather, and constant maintenance became parts of one engineered system. Every metra represented labor. Someone cleared silt. Someone repaired a bank after rain. Someone watched a tank fill and decided when water could be spared. The spectacular moment when stored water was released depended on quiet work performed along the hillside before dawn. Roman writers knew that gold mining could require astonishing water systems. Pliny the Elder described channels and aqueducts serving mines in Spain, where workers cut rock, joined difficult ground, and moved water across great distances. His account helps us understand what Roman mining could demand. It is not a diary of Dolaucothi. The Welsh mine had its own geology, scale, chronology, and methods. We cannot lift a Spanish scene from Pliny and place it here unchanged. What the local archaeology does show is that water was planned, stored, and made to work. Water could help expose ground. It could carry away lighter material during processing. It could power or assist machinery. And underground, where water gathered below the level of a natural exit, it became an enemy of access. That is the contradiction at the center of your shift. The same substance that makes the mine productive can make the mine impossible to enter. Back in the gallery, the water is not arriving as a dramatic wall. It is seeping, collecting, and steadily winning every low point in the floor. You kneel and reach into the channel cut beside the passage. Your fingers find mud, then small stones, then a packed obstruction you cannot move with one hand. The problem is ordinary. That makes it more dangerous. No mountain has exploded. No river has burst through the roof. There is only a system that needs constant human attention and a small failure deep enough underground that the people above cannot see it. You set the lamp on a ledge. Then you place both hands into the black water. It is tempting to give every miner in the Roman world the same identity: a slave in chains, a condemned prisoner, a captive worked until death. Those lives existed within Roman extraction, and any story that turns the empire's mines into ordinary modern workplaces would be dishonest. Ancient sources and later law show that enslaved people, convicts, prisoners, and other coerced laborers could be sent into mining systems. But that is not the whole workforce of every mine. Roman mines also required specialists, people who understood water, surveying, rock, timber, ore, furnaces, transport, accounts, and machinery. Free, freed, local, enslaved, military, contracted, and compelled labor could exist in different mixtures across the empire and across time. At Dolaucothi, the surviving evidence does not identify the legal status of the person standing in this gallery, so you wear no chain in this reconstruction. You are not called free either. You are a worker inside a system whose authority is visible even when its exact terms are lost. There is a fort near the mining landscape. There is a civilian settlement. There are roads, waterworks, controlled resources, and valuable material that will not belong to the person who carries it out. You may have been born nearby. You may have arrived with the mining operation. You may be paid, indebted, compelled, enslaved, or attached to another household. The evidence does not let us choose the version that produces the easiest drama. What it does let us recover is dependence. No single worker runs this mine. The person cutting rock depends on the person removing it. The carrier depends on a clear passage. The underground gang depends on those maintaining water above. The processor depends on ore arriving. The official measuring output depends on all of them, while understanding only a fraction of what keeps them alive. Inside the flooded gallery, status does not change the height of the water. Experience does. The younger worker behind you wants to pull at the obstruction with a hooked tool. You stop him. If the blockage gives way at once, the released water may knock both of you off your feet. If the channel wall breaks, the flow may abandon the drain and take the passage instead. You clear the mud by hand, a little at a time. Not because you are fearless, because fear without knowledge is panic, and knowledge without fear is how minds kill experienced people. The obstruction begins to move. At first, it is only a trembling beneath your fingers. Then one stone rolls free. Water pulls through the opening with enough force to carry mud across your wrist. The younger worker leans closer. You tell him to move back. The words have barely left your mouth when a larger piece breaks loose. Water rushes into the cut channel. The lamp flame jumps. The stone strikes the wall below your knee and spins away into darkness. For 3 breaths, the level around your feet drops. Then a sound comes from above. Not a collapse. Something smaller. A sharp fracture, followed by grains of rock falling into the water behind you. The mine has changed. Nothing in the sound tells you how much. You lift the lamp and see a fresh line across the ceiling near the route out. It may be surface damage. It may carry no weight at all. Or it may be the warning that comes before the warning no one survives. This fracture is part of our reconstruction. Archaeology does not preserve this incident, and no source tells us that a Dolaucothi gang escaped a flooded gallery on this day. But the decision is faithful to the environment. Underground extraction places workers inside rock they are actively weakening. Drainage makes deeper access possible, then makes that access dependent on channels and machinery continuing to work. Light is fragile. Communication travels by voice, touch, and repeated signals through passages that twist and narrow. The ore at the face is valuable. The tools left beside it are valuable. The time already spent reaching it is valuable. None of that tells you whether the ceiling will remain in place. You call the other worker back from the face. He does not answer. You call again, louder. This time the returning voice is angry. He has heard the drain open. He believes the danger is passing. He wants another basket filled before the gang withdraws. You look at the crack. Authority underground is never as simple as the orders given above. The person who can see the danger possesses information the supervisor does not. The person who turns back may save the gang or waste the shift. Only afterward will others decide which it was. You pick up the lamp. Then you begin to retreat. One by one, the others follow. The route out climbs through spaces cut at different times. In one section, water runs away below your feet. In another, it gathers and must be lifted. The mine is not one design completed before work began. It grows around the deposit. New access solves old problems and creates new ones. Nearly 18 centuries later, modern miners broke into ancient workings beneath the main open cut at Dolaucothi. In the mud, they found preserved wooden objects, including ladders, scaffolding, and part of the rim of a drainage wheel. Only a fragment survived, but a fragment can expose an entire category of labor. A water-lifting wheel does not turn itself. It must be built from selected wood, assembled to fit the space, operated, repaired, and kept clear. Its output must go somewhere. In deeper workings, one lift may only deliver water to the next stage. The wheel is evidence that Roman mining was not simply a man striking rock with a pick. It was machinery, planning, maintenance, and coordinated bodies. The same caution applies to fire. Fire setting. Heating a rock face so that thermal stress helps break it was used in ancient mining, and traces interpreted as fire setting exist in the wider Dolaucothi complex. But not every trace or working can be assigned securely to the Roman phase. So no fire burns at the face in our reconstructed shift. We do not need it. The preserved waterworks already reveal a mine that demanded constant intervention. Its technology reduced one kind of difficulty by transferring effort to people and machines elsewhere. As you climb, the gallery air begins to move. The lamp steadies. The roof rises enough for your back to straighten. Behind you, the drain is working again, at least for now. No flood follows. No collapse seals the passage. The shift's danger ends without a body. That does not make it imaginary. Most dangerous workdays do not become disasters. They become stories told once, warnings repeated to a new worker, changes in habit, or memories carried by people whose names never enter an archive. Tomorrow, someone may return to inspect the crack. Someone may decide the gallery is safe. Someone may be ordered to prove it. When you reach daylight, the gold is still not gold. It is rock in baskets. Useful material mixed with waste. Weight that has to be sorted, broken smaller, washed, examined, and reduced before anyone can know what the shift has produced. Archaeology at Dolaucothi has identified evidence for ore crushing and processing, including work near what researchers describe cautiously as a possible mill complex. The wording matters. The site preserves industrial clues, but not a complete operating manual. We should not imagine one perfect assembly line. Loads may differ. Methods may change. Surface and underground extraction may feed different sequences. Water stored for one task may later serve another. Machinery, hand labor, and simple gravity can work beside each other without the mine becoming a factory in the modern sense. What remains constant is the chain of bodies. One worker carries ore from the gallery. Another breaks it. Another moves water. Another separates heavier material from lighter waste. Someone maintains the channel. Someone counts, guards, records, or transports the result. The gold becomes cleaner as the people who produced it disappear from view. By the time refined metal enters the imperial world, it may be weighed without any trace of the wet foot, cut hand, exhausted shoulder, or abandoned tool that made the weight possible. We do not know exactly where Dolaucothi's gold went. It may have joined official stores, coinage, payment, ornament, or other circuits of Roman wealth. Nearby discoveries show that gold objects existed in this landscape, but they do not give every grain from the mine a destination. The honest answer is smaller than the legend. Rome wanted gold. Dolaucothi supplied some. The path between the mine and a particular coin, bracelet, treasury, or emperor is usually lost. Your reconstructed gang emerges with no heroic welcome. The basket is weighed by eye and hand. The blocked drain is reported. The fresh crack must be judged. Someone is dissatisfied that the shift ended early. You wash the mud from your arms in water that flows toward the same valley system the mine has redirected and controlled. Above you, the channels continue carrying tomorrow's work downhill. Long after Roman mining ends, the valley begins to conceal the industry. Channels soften beneath grass. Water finds other routes. Waste heaps settle. Open cuts collect soil and vegetation. Timber survives only where conditions protect it. Later miners enter the landscape, reuse it, cut through it, and sometimes expose the ancient work by accident. The mine remembers systems better than people. It remembers the line of a water channel for roughly 10 kilometers. It remembers tanks built to hold and release water. It remembers open workings, adits, galleries, processing areas, roads, settlement, and the fragment of a wheel once used to fight gravity underground. It does not remember your name. It does not tell us whether you were local or foreign, free or enslaved, paid or compelled. It does not preserve the argument at the working face, the fear beside the new crack, or the moment one worker decided that the basket of ore was not worth one more minute below it. That silence creates a temptation. We can fill it with spectacle, chained armies underground, rivers exploding through mountains, galleries collapsing on command, and gold shining from every wall. The evidence gives us something more demanding. A mine that joined conquest to engineering, a landscape reorganized around extraction, skilled and possibly coerced labor existing within an unequal system, water controlled over kilometers and still dangerous at the scale of 1 foot in a dark passage. Was this truly a Roman miner's most dangerous shift? We cannot know. There is no ranked record of accidents at Dolaucothi, no final testimony, and no proof that this exact emergency occurred. The superlative belongs to the story, not the archive. But the conditions that make the story possible are real. Rock was cut. Water had to be managed. Ore was carried. Machinery had to keep working. People entered confined spaces because the empire valued what lay inside them more than it valued the names of those who went in. In our reconstruction, you survive because you retreat. The gallery remains. The crack remains. The work will be waiting when another lamp enters the darkness. Rome will remember the gold. The mine remembers the cost.